Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe. Well, in other news this evening, the ANC's National Working Committee has welcomed and commended the decision by President Cyril Ramaphosa to voluntarily present himself to the ANC's Integrity Commission. And this follows allegations that he covered up a robbery at his Phala Phala farm in Limpopo. Well, for a little bit more on this, we're now joined by Professor Patrick Bond from the University of Johannesburg's Department of Sociology. Joins us now. Prof, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Peter. Great to be with you and the viewers.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a very naughty question right over at the top, and I don't know if you can answer this, but it just seems quite a coincidence that the Guptas get arrested and President Ramaphosa is in this mess, and it all happens at the same time.
Well, that was on Friday, right? We're just learning details of what's been put together in Dubai, and it's long overdue for Interpol and particularly for the UAE to consider the extradition that's been on the books for some time. I think that lack of political will, who knows whether calls were made to say, let's have a distraction. I doubt it, but a nice hypothesis. I think the major problem is just how many events are now unfolding. There was last Thursday the Marikana victims, their families looking for 1 billion rand from Ramaphosa and Lonmin now called Sibanye-Stillwater. They've just settled a big strike. And then, of course, Glencore and its question marks because of President Ramaphosa being its main partner here in the wake of the $1.5 billion, 20 billion rand, roughly, fine against Glencore's top leadership for all their bribery and corruption in Africa, Venezuela. It's a very tough time for Ramaphosa looking in the mirror at what is, a checkered corporate career.
So he claims innocence in all of these matters, particularly this alleged $4 million. Politically, what is the cost of what's happening to him?
Well, it's a very high cost because he's given the radical economic transformation faction, including some very key people, not necessarily the politicians, but people like Arthur Fraser, who's making the charges, and may be named in the Zondo Commission report as it comes out, dealing with state security, which Fraser ran, and which is how he got all this insider information about the theft. Also, two ESCOM leaders, Coco Machele and also Brian Molefe, have been making very strong charges against Ramaphosa on the Glencore matter. And then you have, a general sense that a wounded Ramaphosa could be forced to step aside, at least temporarily, and then a David Mabuza would come in. He's seen to have many skeletons in his closet and was fading. Not only his health was suffering, but political fortunes were fading. All of this means there's unprecedented turmoil since Ramaphosa's come to power. He had certainly had his ups and downs, certainly last July with the debate about whether Jacob Zuma should be in jail. And once that blew, and Zuma's arrest catalyzed such tragic looting, 350 dead, 50 billion in damage. For Ramaphosa, the political message was blame some well-orchestrated economic sabotage, but he never found the masterminds. He's never got proper arrests, just a few instigators and social media people. So I think he's looking, quite weak. Only did he, I think 2 weeks ago, just have Siyabonga Gama arrested, one of the key people in the Zuma camp, the Transnet leader, with the China South Rail and China Development Bank locomotive deal. So it's been just going very slowly when he's trying to clean up, and now he looks quite dirty himself.
So Boris Johnson, right now as we speak, is facing a vote of no confidence, and this is for having drinks during lockdown, and he could lose his job. When we compare what's happening to Boris Johnson and the President of South Africa, has he done enough just on principle to say, do you know what, I should step down based on what's happening around me?
Well, I would say, please don't step down, because the alternative is David Mabuza. And again, the question marks over a variety of allegations, including a big New York Times report a couple of years ago about his role in Mpumalanga, I think worry many who understand the implications. So certainly, personally, I think I'm not alone in saying I hope he doesn't. However, I hope the investigations do pick up whether there was US dollars held illicitly, held under, mattresses and, obscure ways. Maybe there was game farming and sales of games. Maybe it was trophy hunting that led to this. We're not sure yet. And whether there was proper tax recording. But particularly, as you say, was there a cover-up? And would that be the sort of thing that the Integrity Commission has to clamp down on in some way, because it does seem pretty evident that proper police reports weren't filed, and there was potentially torture involved in trying to get information out. And then President Ramaphosa allegedly, this is all Arthur Fraser's allegations, not yet tested, even called the Namibian president to say, hey, let's get some extradition, and then paid off a few of these Tsotsis to keep them quiet. Now, these are the allegations. So, look, if there's anything to them, that would certainly warrant resignation. It means that a man who's meant to be a brilliant business person, 6-7 billion rand worth of wealth before he went into the presidency, and that's, then multiplied because so much is in the stock market, it's been doing so well compared, say, to 2010, 2011. This means a very, very rich man who can afford to sort of have 1% of his wealth in US dollar cash, if the allegations are true, and then not even notice that it's gone missing for a couple of weeks, again, if the allegations are true. Yes, I think this does call for a very different president, but maybe the president should stay in and then say, this is our own chance to look in the mirror as a society, to pay reparations for these crimes against our society, against our environment, to try to shake up our corporate sector, which PwC names as the first or second most corrupt in the world over the last 12 years, most recently second, tied with China behind India. And when you look at the sort of corruption that generally we've seen in Sandton, in Stellenbosch, Midrand, and Mhlanga in central Cape Town, I think it would take a Ramaphosa to say, let's put the exchange controls back on and finally take them seriously and not play these games that the corporates do with their extractive industries, their corruption and bribery. It's not just our locals, it's the big ones from New York and London, the big consultancies. So maybe that's the mission of reformed Cyril Ramaphosa. With these three big attacks, Longmen for the Marikana massacre coming up on 10 years, the Glencore revelations, and now the theft. We really do need a new and improved Ramaphosa if he's going to stay in power, don't we?
The president is saying this is political warmongering and dirty politics, whatever you want to call it, and it's not beyond the realm of possibility. But if it's true, let's assume his version is correct, the people inside the ANC are not doing themselves any favors, because at the end, the ship will sink with everyone in it.
Oh, I think we've seen that all over the continent and all over the world, that presidents who, let's say, I am not a crook. I think of Richard Nixon, the way he put it. And he did bring down his Republican Party, and he did bring down, there was a whole sense of a democracy stained. And I think since so many have believed that Ramaphosa was the last great hope to prevent the ANC from degenerating into the sort of Zupta zone that we're hopefully going to learn more about if the Zuptas really are arrested, extradited, and have to face some music. And if the next Zondo Commission comes out, I think everyone's a bit disappointed that the Zondo Commission really didn't do more on things like Glencore or Medupi and Kusile, where the ANC was, with Hitachi, bribed, according to the US Foreign Corrupt Practices Act prosecution, which Hitachi paid 300 million rand. And I think, again, Peter, it raises the big question of global power politics, in which if the United States, if their anti-corruption agencies feel so empowered to take on the biggest mining and commodity broking house in the world, Glencore. And President Ramaphosa is not implicated yet, but certainly many of Glencore's top people were, and Ivan Glassenberg, who Ramaphosa was very close to as his main partner. And the money that they're paying, a big amount, 1.5 billion, never gets to the African victims of that corruption and bribery. Well, that says something about the need to really have a different approach by African leaders, including in South Africa, to take on the corrupt companies, including those where your head of state is, implicated.
All right, here's another naughty question. Do you think that the president was subtweeting when he at the weekend said, "I've never stolen taxpayers' money"?
We're always interested in where money goes in this state. It's very obscure because taxpayer money has gone to Eskom. Because of the guarantees on massive Eskom loans, some 400 billion, but also because of those bailouts. So if indeed Eskom did, under the pressure in the war room in late 2014, early 2015, did make deals with Ivan Glassenberg running Glencore and for the Optimum mine that raised the price of sub-quality coal that was going into Eskom. Well, you could say, well, indirectly, there was a bit of maybe not stealing, maybe not Ramaphosa himself involved in that, but certainly you could say that Glencore made the investment to have Ramaphosa as the key ally because of political influence. And the ANC has just become notorious, and Ramaphosa himself has said it, himself involved in illicit financial flows, especially money that went to Bermuda when he was on the lawman board and was very involved in that transaction, according to the Farlam Commission, or when he was the chair of MTN, and plenty of very, let's say, illicit activities occurred, illicit financial flows or deals in Iran and Afghanistan that are very, very dubious, still being litigated. So in all these ways, you can say, well, I didn't cheat and steal and lie against the taxpayer. But if you're part of corporate South Africa, it's a pretty good chance you've done something illegal. That's what at least the reputation, according to PwC's surveys, suggests. We don't have that corrupt estate, Peter. It ranks 110th. Most corrupt in the world out of 180 by Transparency International. But then you look at PwC and you say, hey, this corporate culture we have has really got to be tackled. And if Cyril Ramaphosa can do one thing now to really have a fresh start after all of this awful controversy, I think it would be to take the neck of corporate South Africa and say, we're going to clean up, and I'll clean up and I'll pay reparations for these kind of damages. All right. That's what I'd welcome.
All right. I mean, it's fascinating. We'll see what plays next. But certainly the ANC Integrity Commission has got quite a dilemma that they need to deal with ahead of a national elective conference. Patrick Bond, always great talking to you, and I look forward to having you in our studio next time.
Thank you very much. Great to be with you.
Thank you.